Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro. Welcome to Mustang Friends Orro Reports. Now, as we all know, Snow White is one of the most classical fairy tales, and it's one of many that have been adapted countless times to this day. Also, I can't believe it's been about 2 years since I looked at Disney's classic from 1937 and The Seventh Dwarf, which came all the way from Germany in 2014. By the way, during my blog of The Seventh Dwarf and a few of my recent blogs this month, I did mention a new adaptation of Snow White that came from overseas. And while I have seen it online on Kim Cartoon, like I did with Leap and The Son of Bigfoot, thankfully, it just got released to home media a couple days ago. So, let's just get started. Released in South Korea on July 25th, 2019, and to DVD and Blu-ray in America on September 22nd, 2020, the movie is Red Shoes and the Seven Dwarfs. Now, on for the plot of the movie. The Fearless Seven are a group of 7 heroic princes who are transformed into little green dwarves by the fairy princess. In order to break their curse, they must get kissed by a fair maiden. A year later, they come across Princess Snow White, who's not only accused of stealing a pair of magical red shoes, but she's also searching for her father, King White. During the search, the group learns that true beauty lies within, while facing against Snow White's wicked stepmother, Regina, who will stop at nothing to get her shoes back, and a loser prince who wants to improve his reputation. So, what do I think of the movie? Well, I was a bit mixed after seeing the first teaser trailer in 2017, but as more information regarding the movie were released, I began to see potential. And after finally watching it online and on DVD, I realized it wasn't that bad. Yep, you heard me. I really liked the movie. It was fun. It had a few dark moments. Some of the characters were pretty good, and several moments were very touching and pulled at my heartstrings. But to further explain why I like the film, let's move on to Mustang Notes. Now, there's not a lot of trivia to talk about, but let's talk about the animation. And in my opinion, the South Korean animation looks pretty good. In fact, it looks equally as good as Disney, Pixar, or even DreamWorks style of CG. Plus, I think Fairy Tale Island looks like an enchanting place, inhabited by all sorts of enchanting creatures and fairy tale characters. In fact, I think it's way impressive than Fairy Tale Land from Happily Never After. As for the story, well, while it is pretty good, it kind of feels like a combination of not only the Snow White story, but also Hans Christian Andersen's The Red Shoes, along with Shrek, Tangled, and a little bit of The Wizard of Oz. But does that mean it's a perfect movie? Well, no. By fairy tale standards, we all know it can never top Shrek. But there were a few other flaws that I noticed. Like, some dialogue was kind of corny, and it did make me facepalm myself a little bit. There were a few moments that were a tad predictable, and one of the antagonists, Prince Average, was just plain silly. Also, the film did gain some controversy for appalled fat shaming due to a marketing campaign at the 2017 Cannes March du film in Cannes, France. Plus, the leading actress, whom we'll get to in a little bit, stated that she was appalled by the marketing, that she felt it did not reflect the actual film's message. Thankfully, later sources, including organizations aimed at promoting good messages in family entertainment, would be more sympathetic to the movie, noting that Red Shoes is loaded with valuable lessons for children and for adults, and that it promotes body image and self-acceptance while confronting stereotypes. Anyway, I like that the movie's message is about accepting folks for who they are, no matter what they look like, and that true beauty lies within. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Fearless Seven. In my opinion, I think these guys are decent characters. While a couple of them try a bit too hard to get kissed by Snow White, I think they have interesting talents. For example, Merlin, who's named after the wizard from the King Arthur myths, has magical lightning cards. Arthur, who's named after the page boy turned king from the King Arthur myths, has sword skills. Hans, who's based on Hansel and Gretel, uses a large frying pan, kind of like a bludgeon, and he's also a sweet baker. Jack, who's based off Jack and the Beanstalk, uses an invisibility cloak, kind of like the one from Harry Potter, and he likes jewelry and beautification. And the triplets, Pino, Noki, and Kyo, who are based off Pinocchio, are gadgeteer geniuses who operate a giant wooden robot with a jetpack, and they invent a device that works like a camera and a copy machine. And that's basically all I got for Mustang notes. So, let's move on to the characters and their voice actors. Our main character, Princess Snow White, aka Red Shoes, is voiced by Chloe Grace Moretz, who got to be in My Friends Tigger and Pooh, Tim Burton's Dark Shadows, the 2013 Carrie remake, the animated Addams Family movie from last year, which will be getting a sequel next year, and, of course, she'll be in next year's Tom and Jerry live-action movie. Now, this version of Snow White is quite different. Yes, she's overweight, but while wearing her stepmother's magical shoes, she becomes a beautiful thin maiden. Throughout the movie, Snow White is searching desperately for her father, and she hopes that the Fearless Seven can help her. To me, no matter what size she is, Snow White is a kind, loyal, and a strong girl. And I think Chloe's voice performance is really adorable. Next we come to the Fearless Seven's leader, Merlin, voiced by Sam Claflin, whose first film role was Philip Swift in the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie. But he's best known from the Hunger Games franchise and the infamous Snow White and the Huntsman movies. To me, Merlin sticks out the most out of the group. While he can be a bit boastful and a bit too proud of himself, I think Merlin is a brave and protective character with a heart of gold. Also, I like that Merlin learns that you should never judge a person by their looks while spending time with Snow White. Speaking of which, all the scenes where Merlin gets to know Snow White are very touching in my opinion. Our next character is Snow White's evil stepmother, Queen Regina, voiced by Gina Gershon, who got to be a dancer in Beatlemania and Girls Just Want to Have Fun. To me, Regina is a very vain sorceress, and I think she's very similar to Mother Gothel from Tangled and the witch from Into the Woods, due to her wanting eternal youth and beauty. Plus, not only does she turn several characters into wooden animals, but I thought her most villainous moment was when she threatens to kill Merlin and when she forces Snow White to eat a magic apple, which turns Snow White into a magic apple tree instead of poisoning her. Next up is Magichard, the Magic Mirror, voiced by Patrick Warburton. Man, Patrick must love being in animated fantasy films, since this is the 5th one featuring him that I got to talk about this month. Anyway, like his fairy tale counterpart, the mirror scans the kingdom and gives Regina information. However, the only thing different about him is that he's mounted in the branches of a barren tree whose roots have spread throughout the entire castle, and he can freely move said roots to attack his mistress's enemies. Also, I think Patrick's voice makes the mirror humorous and intimidating. Another character to talk about is Prince Avaraj, and yes, that's how he's pronounced, who is voiced by Jim Rash, who played Stitches in Disney's Sky High. Now, I must say that this is the only performance in the movie that I didn't enjoy. I mean, his voice was funny, but the character himself is a spoiled brat and a complete joke. But the only time where Avaraj is threatening is when he attacks Snow White and Merlin in the form of a giant wooden bear. Finally, we come to the wooden bear cubs, voiced by Ava Kolker, Asher Blinkoff, and Juju Journey Brenner. These 3 were human children who were put under a spell by Queen Regina and are forced to be her servants. To me, while they don't really contribute too much to the movie, I think they make decent minor supporting characters. And now for my final words. Overall, Red Shoes and the 7 Dwarfs is a pretty good movie, and a fun fairy tale spoof. Most of the voice acting was pretty good, including Chloe Grace Moretz, Sam Claflin, and Patrick Warburton. The CGI animation was pretty good, and the story, while a tad corny and cliched, was cute, heartwarming, and sometimes thought-provoking. And it has a nice message about not judging people by their appearances. It may not be as timeless as Shrek or any of the fairy tale movies that were made by Disney, but it comes pretty close. I give this movie a rating of 87% out of 100. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for my next blog. Mustang Power.